On their off day, the Warriors were busy finalizing their roster ahead of the playoffs as they signed Juan Toscano-Anderson to an NBA contract, and they also added Jordan Bell and Gary Payton II to two 10-day contracts here. Jordan Bell back for the first time since the 2019 season, when, of course, he won one championship with the Golden State Warriors, including that fancy dunk right there, as we welcome everybody back to Warriors. Pre-game live presented by Comcast Business, live from Chase Center. So we see JTA secure the bag. We'll discuss that a little bit later. But Jordan Bell and GP2 are back in the fold here, Mully.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Jordan Bell, obviously familiar with Steve Kerr and Steph and Draymond, so I thought that's a good addition. And GP2 has been here before. He understands his role. I think both can bring really good defense, and Jordan Bell's case, some rebounding.
Jordan Bell coming back. You always, if you can add a guy this late in the season that's familiar with the Warriors culture, it's a plus. GP3, we know what he can do. We know what he brings on the defensive end. And Juan, JTA, back for another few years. You know, I'm super proud of him.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about JTA a little bit later. That's to come, his heartwarming story and a phone call with his mother yesterday down at Chase Center. But first, we got to go to Kareth Burke and Monty Poole in just a second here for more on JTA and the latest roster moves. Here is Monty Poole and Kareth Burke, powered by Cisco WebEx, discussing Jordan Bell and the rest of the roster.
Well, thank you, Monte. And Monty, let's talk about Jordan Bell first. Why do you think this reunion happened?
Well, you know, you're at this point of the season now where you literally have 2 games remaining, and you're trying to integrate somebody into what you've been doing all season. And Jordan Bell has been here before. It makes perfect sense in the sense that he's a guy who spent 2 years with this team, did a lot of good things, made some playoff appearances, started some playoff games, and now you just want somebody who you can plug in. And look around the NBA, there aren't many guys you could do that with, and he is one of those guys. And given how thin they are up front, with Kevon Looney and Draymond Green basically manning the center position, neither of those guys is a center. But here comes Jordan Bell now, sort of a fresh infusion of energy, and a guy who really should be able to give him some minutes.
Jordan Bell signed on a 2-way, and Juan Toscano-Anderson had his 2-way converted. That felt overdue. I mean, he's given the team at least 20 minutes a game this season. Lately, it's been more like 28 or 30 as the team played small. JTA giving him scoring and rebounds. And this contract conversion, Monty, felt overdue, frankly.
No doubt about it. His teammates knew that. His coaching staff knew that. You know, Juan's been a great soldier for this team, man. He's been doing things all season long that this team has needed to get anywhere. And so watching him 12 on a 2-way, it's like, what are we doing here? You know, you got guys on the bench there that aren't going to play at all. And so I think, yeah, it's overdue, like you said, and well-deserved. And next year they'll have him back. So I think this is a move where you give a guy what he has earned. A little late, but at least they got there.
Yeah. All right. And what are you hearing about that 15th and final roster spot, Monty?
Gary Payton, too, it looks like, you know. I was told yesterday by a couple of people that, no, it's happening, it's lining up. So it makes sense. You know, here's a guy who's a bulldog defender, a guy who loves to play that end of the court. He can also hit the occasional shot, but mostly he's a guy who you want to have on your team. If you want to pressure a point guard, Gary Payton, too, is one of those guys who can do that. That's what he specializes in. He ain't his dad, of course. I mean, Gary Payton, the dad, is a Hall of Famer. But young Gary is one of those guys that relishes the role of defending. And it's always good to have a guy like that on your roster, especially as you move toward the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a coach's favorite, the guys who prioritize defense. As the Warriors think about depth and the bodies that they need for the playoffs, they did get some good news. Eric Paschall will play against the Pelicans. And I remember when Eric Paschall said he was having trouble moving after the hip injury, had trouble getting out of bed. It's been a long journey for him to return, but it will finally happen tonight.
Yeah, you know, you feel for this guy because, you know, he put in so much work last season as a rookie, attracted a lot of attention. People watched him and saw what he was able to do. And this year it's been so in and out of the lineup. I mean, he's been out for the last 6 or 7 weeks and just getting himself ready to play again. So, but again, here's a guy who can give you some offense. He can shoot it. He can go inside. He's explosive. So you now have another guy you can plug in at that 5 spot if needed. He's a great small ball 5, it looks like, on offense. Defensively, no, he's not that great. But right now, if you're the Warriors, your defense is looking pretty good most of the time. You want a guy who can give you some, at least a semblance of offense on that end of the court from the big position, and he can do that.
Yeah, thank you for the insight, Monty. We're talking about a whole collection of guys who will find meaning in tonight's game.
Reinforcements.
All right, thank you, Carrot and Monty, for that update there. As we take a look at the Western Conference standings, and the Warriors and Grizzlies tied up for that 8th spot, which makes Sunday's game a play. The winner takes the 8th spot. It may take on the Blazers, may take on the Lakers, but don't forget Wednesday is when the Western Conference play-in tournament starts, and that's when Warriors Playoff Central will begin here at NBC Sports Bay Area. We'll have you updated for all the playoff games and all the statuses and times and all that good stuff there. So we don't know who the Warriors will play in that playing game. They could drop the 9 with the loss on Sunday. However, you heard from Monty and Carrot, Darrell, Eric Paschall will get some minutes tonight. We've been asking about this guy, a guy who came off the bench early in the season and gave the Warriors a nice scoring punch. Having him back here, can't wait to see what he does tonight against the Pelicans.
Definitely, it's a big-time move for the Warriors to get Paschall back. You know, I know he's been dealing with that hip injury, but another guy that could come off your bench, more depth, somebody that could go get a basket playing that small ball lineup. So I'm excited to see him get some good minutes and, you know, try to get ready for the playoff run.
Really exciting time for the Warriors. They're playing their best basketball of the season. We saw 2 back-to-back playoff-type intensity games with Utah and Phoenix. They won both of those. A nice rest day for the core players tonight. Reinforcements on the way. Congratulations to all those players. Right. Juan T, GP2, and Jordan Bell. With Jordan Bell and GP2 adding athleticism, defense, and I think they're going to have to guard a point guard on Sunday named John Morant. So he may get some spot minutes there just to use his physicality. Eric Paschall, really important for him to, yes, bring offense, bring his solid defense. And then when he's on the offensive end, don't stand still. Play without the basketball.
No doubt about that. Well, Sunday, the Warriors will see the Grizzlies. We've been talking about it all show here. It'll be Sunday Fun Day here at Chase Center beginning at 12:30 p.m. So you want to get up early. You want to get to the game early. Get your snacks and everything and get ready to roll here because this will be a big game. And the last time the Warriors saw the Grizzlies, Steph Curry didn't play in those 2 games. Remember, he bruised his tailbone in Houston on that Wednesday. They played the Grizzlies on a back-to-back Friday, Saturday. Wiggins had a big game the first night, dropping 40+. So with the Grizzlies, they've come along. We thought they would fade, Darrell. They've come along and they play hard.
They're young, they're athletic, they're exciting, and they're aggressive. John Morant, leader of the Snake, you know, Dylan Brooks, Valanciunas. So you got to be locked in. It's going to be a tough game for the Warriors, a very athletic team. So it's going to be on a defensive end for them to get stops to get a win.
With John Morant, Dylan Brooks, they're very athletic, very physical. Jonas Valanciunas will punish you in the paint, but I do think the Warriors have an advantage when they play against traditional bigs on the offensive end. And with Draymond and Kavan, they can guard Valanciunas. So I think it's a good matchup for the Warriors.
Jaren Jackson Jr.
The playoffs start Sunday.
Playoffs do start Sunday. You want to get here bright and early. Jaren Jackson Jr. also back with the Memphis Grizzlies, giving them some more scoring punch. But Eric Paschall, all eyes will be on him tonight as he makes his return. Been out with the hip flexor injury. What will EP do tonight? Are the Warriors peaking at the right time? The Warriors' big 3 gets a rest tonight, but for good reason. We'll discuss that on the other side.
Warriors Pregame Live is brought to you by the Bay Area BMW Centers. Take advantage of exceptional offers today.
It's really whatever I catch. I had to go with all the smoke. Yeah. I'd rather post around somebody with a dunk. I'll play football, wide receiver.
Kyra has truly been awesome for the Pelicans this season. Quite a rookie debut for this young man from Alabama. We have enjoyed watching him grow so much each and every game, each and every time he's out on the court. And you know, an old friend of ours is actually the one who discovered Kyra back when he was in 8th grade. New Orleans native and NBA champ Avery Johnson, who joins us now to fill us in a little bit about the backstory of Kyra Lewis Jr. Coach, we're so glad you're here with us. Thank you for your time. Take us inside your first impressions of Kyra the very first time you watched him play.
Yeah, well, my first impressions were he was a young man that had blazing speed. He really had high basketball IQ for his age. You know, he wasn't the biggest guy. He was a little small in stature, but I was just impressed. He was like a little maestro on the court. So I think I was just really impressed with his level of maturity, even though he was one of the younger guys pretty much playing up most of his career, especially on the AAU circuit.
And that's such a great point, because it's really what we're seeing him do at the NBA level as well. What in your mind gave him that ability to play up against older kids, guys with more time on task, so to speak?
Well, I think a lot of his success starts at home. His mom, Natasha, his dad, Kyra Sr. You want to talk about an incredible family. His mom is one of the smartest people you'll ever meet. His dad is a hardworking man. They're a no excuse family. And they installed a lot of discipline in Kyra at an early age. So I think the foundation that was built at home, and then him putting in all of the hard work on the court, the loves the gym, I think that really has been a catalyst for him to have the type of success that he has on the basketball court.
Yeah, very similar situation. His history repeats itself for the way he's playing up in the NBA, because the Pelicans coaching staff had said they'd have been fine if this rookie year was actually like a redshirt year for him, but it has not been for Kyra. I'm guessing it does not surprise you to see his quick success at the professional level.
No, it really doesn't. You know, as he continues to get a better feel for the game, you know, he's going to play in more games in one season than he's ever played. You're playing against guys that have been in the league for quite a long time, and you're playing against guys that have families and they're married. But anything that Kyra does is not going to surprise me. I'm really expecting him down the road, not now, to be a perennial all-star in the NBA, because he can pass, he can shoot it, he's going to get stronger, and I just think sky's the limit for him.
We're going to get you to put your analyst hat back on for us for a minute, Avery. How has Kyra's game grown from when you watched him and coached him at the college level to now in the pros?
Well, I think he's a much better finisher around the basket, and as he continues to get a little bit stronger, and that doesn't necessarily means he's got to add 30 pounds to it. But as he continues to get stronger and develops more physically and being able to absorb that contact around the basket to go along with his magnificent three-point shooting, I mean, he's got a really, really smooth stroke, nice mid-range game. He'll end up, you know, he's got the capability of shooting, you know, 50% from the field, 40% from the three, and 90% from the free throw line of what we call a 1A guy. He definitely has that potential. So I think as he continues to grow and develop and improve and learn the NBA game and all of the different players that opponents that he's going to compete with on a night in and night out basis, it wouldn't be surprising.
Actions can lead to a deadly chain reaction called sepsis. Very quickly, sepsis can cause tissue damage, organ failure, and even death. If you know the risks, can spot the symptoms, and act fast, then you can get ahead of sepsis. Learn more at cdc.gov/sepsis.
We are the heart of the Pelicans, the heart of the fan. Valley Sports, New Orleans.
We both had long careers, a lot of players we played against, a lot of tough assignments. Who would be your hardest player to guard? And why? What made them difficult?
I get asked this question a lot. I'm sure you have as well.
Yeah.
And honestly, the hardest players for me to guard were the players with the most freedom.
No, yeah.
I probably wasn't that difficult to guard because I was getting up 7 or 8 shots a game.
Correct.
It's hard to guard guys when you know they're going to come down and they can shoot 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a row with no consequence.
Right.
So I'm sure a lot of the guys that we have on this list we're
volume guys.
And they'll probably be the same.
Right.
They'll be the same. So I think of athleticism and creativity first.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. Because the thing about those two was they elevated so high on their jump shots.
Yeah.
It was almost like you're not even there.
Right.
You know, I have a picture at home of me guarding Kobe, and I'm right in front of him, and I have my hand up, and my hand is right here.
And what's your official size? How tall are you?
6'3".
6-ish?
Yeah, 6'3"-ish.
2.5?
No.
Okay.
6'3.5". Don't take me the other way.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But when they can elevate over your hand, it's like a practice shot for them.
Sure.
So you can stay in front. I can stay in front. I can move my feet, and I can stop, and I can do what I've always been taught to do. Let me put my hand up. Good offense beats good defense any day of the week. So as far as that part goes,
right.
And we'll obviously go to different categories.
Sure.
But as far as athleticism and creativity, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant.
Okay, let me start with those because I don't put them on my list.
Okay.
Because when I guarded them, you know, back in our day, even probably before our day, you know, they talked about the mouse in the house. And our generation, as soon as we saw a mismatch, we went to it. But those guys wanted to post me up. My lower center of gravity and strength allowed me to guard them and keep them off the block. And yes, every time they went up for a shot,
a double game.
It was a little bit of that on the hip, but they always let me get away with it. And the expectation of me guarding Michael and Kobe wasn't like, you better get some stops. It was keep them off the block, make them shoot over top. I guarded Michael. He had 38 3/4. It was a blip on the radar. Yeah, I got the business, whatever, it didn't matter. That he sat down in the fourth. The hardest guys for me to guard were those ball handlers.
Oh,
those
me too.
Little guys.
That's what I say. That's the next category.
Yeah, let's go to the next category.
That's the next category.
Yeah.
So it's two guys that fall in that category for me.
Okay.
Two guys. AI, Stephon Marbury. And you and I had this conversation the other day, just had nothing to do with this, just kind of sitting in the hallway laughing about it. People will never understand how truly quick, fast, and shifty with the basketball Allen Iverson was.
And they didn't know what to do with his carry.
Oh, no, nor did we.
No.
Nor did we.
Because all of this?
Yes.
Come on, man.
Right, there's nothing you can do about it.
No.
But he was faster with the ball than most guys are without it.
Sure.
And to actually stay in front of him, I don't care if you can hand check, if you can't hand check. Can you imagine him playing in today's league where you're telling guys you can't touch him?
No, and he was small frame. So any bumps, anytime he gets into your body, that's a foul for him. I put both of those guys in that category, but I want to add Damon Stoudemire. I played against Damon Stoudemire. You talk about volume guy. We played a triple overtime versus Toronto, and he got up 38 shots. That was a long night, and I think I played every minute of that game.
But just to speak to volume, how many games, honestly speaking, how many games would it take you to get up 38 shots?
I want to say my career high in attempts is 26.
Okay. And that's probably one of those days where you felt like...
No, either I was playing on a bad team, i.e. Boston, or I had it cooking.
Right.
Because I don't think my percentage, like that wasn't my career high. So I don't think my percentage was outstanding. I might have been 11 for 26 or whatever.
Right.
So those that would take me probably 2-3 games. I got 10, 12 shots some nights. But I don't know if I was that on average.
Right.
So who else are you talking about putting on that list? Because Robert Pack was tough for me too.
Right. Stephon Marbury.
Yeah, Stephon Marbury was
He was
a beast.
so
volatile with his dribble.
Yes. Like he dribbled the ball like he was angry at it.
Yes, he did.
But he was like a snake. So low to the ground, completely different than AI. Because what AI did is he put you to sleep. Yeah. He played with the ball. He had a rhythm to his game. Stephon Marbury was point A to point B, raise up.
Hard.
Right. Yeah. Hard. Point A, point B, I'm not fooling. And then he would uncoil and raise up in his shot.
Yeah.
Such a low center of gravity. His shoulders, like we always talk about Zion and how low Zion's shoulders are. Yeah. Steph Marbury had that, but he would do that from 40 feet out.
Yeah.
You know, so creativity and athleticism, you go with Michael and Kobe. And as far as just like speed and strength and like the shiftiness and just hard to stay in front of, I got to go with AI and Stephon Marbury.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I would say Robert Pack, because he always used to get me 2 or 3 times a game with that lull you to sleep, and he had the hardest crossover, and you were talking about explosive when you get around the rim. He'd go bang on a few people.
Heart of your team, the heart of the Big Easy. Valley Sports New Orleans, the heart of the fan.
The final road game of this very unprecedented season takes us to the Bay Area and that multi-billion-dollar NBA venue on the water there in San Francisco. It's Pelicans Live, presented by FanDuel, and it's also the third and final meeting with the Warriors in the last 11 days after splitting a back-to-back in the Big Easy just last week. And yes, while New Orleans has been eliminated from playoff contention, Golden State will fight for that 8th seed on Sunday, which is why they're unfortunately resting several faces tonight to save them for that finale. For now, it's our finale of this 5-game coast-to-coast swing, and we're going to count you down to it here on Bally Sports. Aaron Hardigan welcoming you in, and I will also tell you, if you are a fan, my friends, of trading cards, we have a super fun segment coming up featuring Panini, which is one of the top trading companies in the world, and our NBA veteran, David Wesley. In fact, as I welcome in my co-host, I'm curious to know how much fun that was for you, or perhaps you could give us a tease of what we have to look forward to with that.
That was really fun because I didn't know that cards were still relevant. I thought they were kind of leveling off if you got some special card, but it's taken a rise, especially through the pandemic. So to know that information and to go into that conversation with Mark, I was thinking, man, this is really interesting. And the way he got started, all those things were, he's on a bar. Some guy walked in, gave him a box of cards for some food, and he took it and gave the guy 6-pack of soda and a sandwich, and the box ended up being $100,000. So good way to get into the business.
What I really want to know is what a David Wesley or an Antonio Daniels card would run me these days. What are we looking at?
I'm glad you asked. Mine is 75 cents and his is 74 cents.
So right now, Aaron, I'm gonna tell you who you co-hosting with. You co-hosting with $1.49. $1.49 is what you co-hosting right now.
I got that.
75 cents for David, 74 for me. That's $1.49.
I got that in change in my purse right now, buddy. I got you.
He said that's all you need. $1.49 and we good to go.
I put some yellow Skittles on Antonio Daniels' card. I gotta say, that's all I gotta say, my friends. Listen, that is coming up in the show, so we have that to look forward to. You two are obviously very much silver linings of this season, and we will continue to celebrate a number of them throughout what is the final 2 games of the season. It is hard to believe. One of the biggest guys that I want to circle is obviously this young, talented core that we have been talking about. A group that without Zion and without B.I. and a couple of the stars have somehow kept this team afloat and in playoff discussion up until Wednesday. And the thing is, AD, the thing I love most is that they're doing it on both ends of the floor. You see here the defensive improvement on the road trip alone. It's also worth noting the Pels have ranked 7th in defensive efficiency since the All-Star break. The only other teams ranked ahead of them are in the playoffs. Not bad.
Well, they're playing hard. And I know that sounds very simplistic, but that's the truth. If you look at how hard this team is playing defensively, they're covering for each other. The trust is there. They're not giving up easy baskets. Jackson Hayes and Billy Hernangomez has done an excellent job at anchoring this defense. And you just like the way that they are trusting and believing in themselves. When you're without your stars, what that forces you to do is play a completely different style of collective basketball. And they're doing it on the road, which is hard to do too. With me, we were laughing earlier about the fact that this is a 5-game road trip to end the season. And these are not easy games. These are everybody that they played on this road trips are teams that are competing and playing for something.
And AD, you said playing hard. And we both can attest to the fact that when you play hard, the scheme could be all messed up. But because you're playing hard, you're going to sometimes get away with it because you're playing harder than the team or you're playing harder than the offense. So playing hard is a key. But also I think this team is gradually learning, picking up new things, picking up different things that maybe they didn't have early in the season. So you can see the growth. And I'm really excited for this team next year and what they look like and how they come out and approach that next year with the things that they've done and grown with a full training camp and all that and a full preseason and see what this team has next year because I see them, moving up that ladder quite a bit.
And not to make excuses, but that's a great point. The thing that we forget what this offseason looked like and what a condensed season looked like as far as practice is concerned. When you have a new coaching staff with new offensive and defensive schemes, 40% of your starting lineup is new, and you are a young, inexperienced basketball team, you really benefit from practice time. And you know what this COVID season did not allow or didn't reward you with? Practice time. Mm-hmm. Coach Van Gundy said it throughout the course of this season. A lot of these games they had to use as practice. I'm with you, David. I'm excited to see what this team looks like with a complete offseason, a complete preseason, a training camp, a full training camp, and practice time throughout the course of the regular season.
Well, I will tell you what the young guys turned to. Without much of that practice time, they turned to the veterans on this squad. And I know Eric Bledsoe has had kind of an up and down season. He's played much better of late, but he has been a leader for this group, AD, both on and off the floor. Even on nights when things weren't falling, he's demonstrating what it means to kind of remain poker-faced and composed and find other ways to contribute. So it's been nice to finally see him also perform well, at least statistically, on this road trip.
Right, and that comes from more opportunity. When there's no BI and there's no Zion and there's no Steven Adams, there's no Josh Hart, and now there's no Lonzo Ball, what that does is that puts the onus on you to be that leader on the floor with your style of play and also by how hard you play. And what he has done a really good job thus far at leading this team. And this is not an easy road trip. This is not an easy road trip at all, but you have to look at and respect how hard that he has gone out there and competed and put this team in a position for the most part before the Dallas game to pull off some of these games down the stretch.
And what he's got to figure out is where he can eat with Zion and BI on the floor. And I watched Drew Holiday do the same thing with Cousins and Davis, but Bledsoe has to be Bledsoe. He has to play himself. And in this stretch without BI and Zion, he's looked more like the Bledsoe we remember as opposed to this. I mean, even if you go 3 for 15, that's you're at least putting forth the effort. Some nights he goes out there and he gets 6 shots. He's got way more game than that. When he's playing downhill and he's in the paint, that's his game. If he's out there shooting threes and he plays a game where he's 7 shots from 3, to me, that's not his game, and that's not him engaged in the game. If he shoots 7 threes, even if he hits 5 of 7, I'm saying he left some points out there because he didn't drive and get to the basket. So when he comes back, he's got to be more the Bledsoe like that. He's got to go out there and play his game and let everybody else work it out because that's how this team is going to be effective and that's how this team is going to be successful.
And you are spot on. You are 100% spot on, David. But you know what that comes from? That comes from practice time. That's what we were referencing earlier. That, when you get an opportunity to practice with these guys and to see where the double teams are coming from, how you can be impactful. One of the things you can reference or speak to, David, is you knew where your shots were coming from. You know why? Because not just from the game, so you would work on those shots in practice. You will work on double teams in practice. You will work on, okay, who was doubling this guy, where my shots were going to come from. When the season doesn't award you that time to work on those things, now you're forced to kind of figure out things on the fly. And this road trip right here, I could say for a lengthy amount of time, this is the most Eric Bledsoe has looked like Eric Bledsoe. But it took the removal of Zion and B.I. and Steven and Josh Hart. And David's right. This is how you have to find how can I integrate what I do best with what they do best? How can I use my skill set to complement the stars of this team? Because that's what this league is all about.
Well, it'll be an interesting one tonight with the majority of the Warriors squad sitting out, including Steph and Draymond, as we look forward to the future here in New Orleans and obviously to your call at the top of the hour, Antonio Daniels. In fact, when we return here on Pelicans Live, David Wesley is going to open up some cards that are worth much more than $1.49. He joins one of the heads of Panini America, one of the top trading companies. Yeah, we're breaking boxes when we return on Pels Live.
Pelicans Live on Bally Sports is brought to you by Smoothie King, Rule the Day, by Chevron, the Human Energy Company,